Alex Hormozi is one of the greatest entrepreneurs and marketers of our time. So in this video, we'll be breaking down his advice on email marketing specifically for e-commerce brands. So we'll see how you can apply it to your brand to scale profitably and predictably in 2025, Q4 especially, and 2026. So without further ado, let's dive right into it.
First things first, here's why I think you should do email. I was a moron and decided to not email for the vast majority of my life because I hate money, apparently. And so the average ROI for email, depending on the source you look at, is between 35 and 45 return. So that means that for every dollar you spend on software or putting time into your email, you can get like $45 back. Like imagine if there was a stock investment that you could 50x in a week. Well, that's kind of like what email is, and people still don't do it, myself included. And part of the reason that making money on email is more profitable is because you actually already spent the time to acquire this contact. And so in a lot of ways, email is just follow-up. And so you spent the cost to acquire the lead, now you're just reminding them that you exist. And so basically the only real cost is just whatever software you use and whomever you may have to pay in order to write the emails. That's pretty much it. And so one email writer can send an email to 10 million people, and that is a tremendous amount of leverage that you get in your business that a lot of people ignore.
Exactly. So what Alex is saying here is basically email is the most profitable marketing platform out there for e-com brands, for B2B businesses, for B2C businesses, for every kind of business. Email is basically the most profitable. Why is that? Well, because if you're doing ads, like you are probably for your e-com brand, there is ad spend involved, right? You have to spend some money to get some money back. But for email, the only real cost, like Alex says, is your email platform, such as Klaviyo or Omnisend or whatever you're using, and the person you're paying to do your email, right? So in his case, he's just mentioning one copywriter that can send millions of emails. In your case, it's not going to be as easy. You'll need a copywriter and a designer and probably an account manager to manage your email marketing. But still, like even with those three hires, email is going to be way more profitable than ads because there's still no ad spend. It's like physically impossible to spend like 30K on email, but it's very possible to spend 30K on ads. So that's why Alex is saying that for every dollar you put in, you could potentially get $35 to $45 out.
On top of that, email is one of the most consumed media platforms, and it hasn't died down. So 61% of people check their email multiple times per day. 20% of people check it multiple times per hour. It has almost the same consumption rate as social media in terms of how engaged some of the users are of people reading their emails every single day. And what's cool about email is that it's actually uniform across age groups. And so you can see between 15 and 24, 25 and 44, 45 and 64, and 65 plus, pretty much everyone, 90% plus, or 84 the very end bracket there, read email all the time. If you're going to master something, it's one that transcends age groups. And I'll bet you, even though we don't have the metric, it transcends countries as well. I would bet you that UK people probably respond similar to US people, probably even respond similar to Chinese people in terms of their email consumption. And
exactly. So what Alex is saying here is basically a lot of people are just saying for no reason that email is dead. Oh, email is dead. No one reads emails. Why would they do email? Obviously, the statistics says the opposite. Like email is not dead at all. Almost everyone consumes email every single day, and a lot of people consume email every single hour. So there's no point in saying that email is dead because it's obviously not. You're just missing out on a lot of the money you could be getting from email, right? So stop saying that email is dead because obviously the statistic is not wrong. Like people consume email every single day, and it's not only 40 years old. It's like teenagers, 60 years olds, 30-year-olds, like all the people, basically all the demographics from all the countries, every single day, every single hour, a lot of people consume email. So don't worry about email being dead. Just focus on getting your email the best it can be and optimize it to the best of your ability.
I basically break this whole down and say, hey, I'm starting Hormozi Money Minute, which is basically the name of my newsletter. So my whole goal was, how do I provide value in under 60 seconds so someone can read it and immediately get something that they can use in their business? And so my goal...
Yeah, exactly. So basically, every time you're about to create an email for your e-com brand, you need to ask yourself this question. So how can I provide value to my customer in under 60 seconds so they keep reading my new emails and they get value from this one so they can actually apply it to their life, or they get entertained, or they learn something new, right? Now, for e-com brand specifically, I would even go further and say, how can I provide value in under 30 seconds or in under 15 seconds? Because for e-com, it's very specific because the kind of emails Alex sends are like more plain text emails that are business tactics and stuff like that people will actually read word by word because they don't want to miss a specific tactic. For e-com brands, the game is a little bit different because the way you send emails, as you probably know, it's like designed emails. It's more like fast-paced, flashy designs, nice angles, funny angles. It's all skimmable. It's all like broken down into tables. You're using infographics and stuff like that. So it's more, you have way less time to actually capture someone's attention. So for e-com brands specifically, I would even say like, how can I provide value to someone in under 20 seconds and so they keep reading my emails and they get value from the current email.
Now let's talk about different tactics. So first things first, everybody wants to talk about how much you can make from email, but no one talks about unsubscribing, right? No one wants, it's like the dirty other, oh yeah, people unsubscribe. Every time you send a communication out, there's gonna be people unsubscribe. And I don't see unsubscribing nearly as negatively as other people do. And I'll explain why. When I look at our people who show up to workshops, a lot of times they are people who unsubscribed. So it's not an insult. It's like they know who I am and they're in. I don't see it as a negative per se. Also, every single day, thousands of people unsubscribe from my Instagram, thousands of people unsubscribe from YouTube, but I just have more people who subscribe. And so I just see the process of advertising is letting people know about your stuff. And so if someone unsubscribes, they absolutely know about you and your stuff. And it doesn't necessarily mean they don't want to buy. It just might not mean that that form of communication or that particular inbox they opted in with is the one that they want to use. Fine, no big deal. So instead of trying to hide it, it's like probably if I see a brand try and make unsubscribing hard, I hate them. And so I have always tried to do the opposite of that. I think number one is that you want to make unsubscribing easy. Don't keep people captive. Let me explain by that. I don't want to keep sending emails to an uninterested segment of my list because it'll actually make my domain deliverability go down long term. By sending it for vanity metrics of, look, I sent more emails, I actually decrease the likelihood that the people who do want to read my emails actually get them. And so that's why you want to make unsubscribing easy, because if you make it hard, they might not unsubscribe, but then they go dormant, which is actually worse for you. So make it easy. I want to be real with you for a second. If you haven't sent email or you really don't send often, like once every 6 months or something, the first time you send an email, you're going to have a higher unsubscribe rate than normal. And that's okay. I call it shaking the trade. It's basically like pulling forward churn. It's the same thing if you correspond with customers who are on a recurring revenue business and you haven't been emailing them or haven't been reaching out to them, you will always get more churn. You'll get next month's churn and this month's churn all at once. And so the highest churn I ever had was on the first email I ever sent. And so it was like just over 1%, which is crazy, right? But now it's like 0.42 unsubscribe rate per email, which is fine. As long as we grow higher than that between emails, that's a good ROI. And it's like, you have to take the logical extreme here. If you are unafraid to email because you don't want to get unsubscribes, why do you have emails to begin with? It's kind of like saying, well, I don't want to post content because then people would stop following me. It's like, well, the only point of them following you is to advertise your stuff. And so if the logical extreme of this is just never do anything, then that's probably not the right conclusion.
Exactly. So this is a really important point. What Alex is saying here is basically like, don't focus on your unsubscribe rate. Don't try to keep people on your list. Have an abundance mindset. Like, who cares about the people who don't want to be on your list anyway, right? All you need to focus on is actually having a high converting pop-up form that's going to convert 8 to 10% at least or more of your website traffic into new subscribers. At that point, you'll have way more people subscribe than you have people who unsubscribe, right? And make it easy for them to unsubscribe, because the worst thing about making it hard for people to unsubscribe is, sure, they'll stay on your list for some time, but then at some point, they're just going to mark you as spam and it's going to ruin your deliverability completely, right? If you follow the other way of doing things, if you make it easy for them to unsubscribe, they're going to leave. They're not going to have bad engagement with your email, and that's just going to boost your sender reputation. So don't worry about unsubscribing. Just focus on people subscribing. You'll grow your list way faster and you're going to make way more money.
Two, and this one is a little bit more advanced, but very worth it. So HubSpot ran a really cool research study where they saw that they had an increase. So already insane ROI for email. They had a 791% increase in ROI from email from one thing, which is people who segmented their lists got way higher returns on email, which should be somewhat unsurprising, right? Like if you send the right emails to the right people, then they will be more likely to buy your stuff. So if I send a beginner email to a list of advanced people, they'll be like, this is not for me. And to the same degree, and also it doesn't have anything to do with the email. It might not be right for them. And to the same degree, if I send an advanced thing to people who don't have a business or want to start a business, then they're gonna be like, this doesn't apply. And so it's way less about how good the email is and so much more about who's getting it. And so
now this segment here, I can't really agree 100% with when it comes to eComm brands. For them, it absolutely makes sense because they have like different tiers of subscribers, like beginners, advanced, businesses over 50K a month, businesses under 50K a month, businesses over 250K a month. And then in this case, it just makes sense to segment it the right way, right? But for eComm brands, in most cases, the only segmentation you'll need is just your engaged segments. You're just sending to 30, 60, 90-day engaged segments most of the time. Then for some sales, you can open up the list a little bit more, just for more people to see the promotion. But on a day-to-day basis, you're just sending to your engaged segments because you know those are the people that actually want to open your emails. What this looks like practically in Klaviyo, you just make a segment that's like people who opened your emails or clicked your emails or been active with site or placed an order, basically had any engagement with your brand or your emails in the past X days. So for example, 90-day engaged segment, it's just people who engaged with your emails or your store in the past 90 days. They're in the segment, you email them most of the time, that segment, right? And your email deliverability is going to be great because people are actually engaging with your emails, right? But in some cases, for example, you're running an apparel shop selling both men's and women's clothes. In that case, it might make sense to have a segment of guys and of women, right? And that way, you're just selling menswear to men and women's clothes to women, right? But in most cases, just don't focus on segmenting based on some weird attributes people have, like based on eye color, unless it's really tied down to your business, right? Just focus on sending to the engaged segments, and you'll be fine, okay?
number one, on the subject heading, I thought a lot about this because on something there's a lot of internet marketers and digital guys who, they split test the hell out of their subjects. And I thought about this more as like a podcast where it's like podcast episode X and then it just keeps going. Because my thought, I'll explain, was if I can basically develop the brand of Mosey Money Minute to be very strong, then eventually we'll get to the point where independent of what I have after Mosey Money Minute, when people know that they always get value in the past when they read it, they'll just click. Going back and forth on this, I was like, I want to build the brand of my email to be strong. And so on one hand, you could say, well, if they know it's from you, then that could be the brand. But we send other emails as well that are not Mosey Money Minute. So I wanted Mosey Money Minute to have its own kind of like little space in someone's mind. That was
Exactly. So Obviously, you don't have to create a specific like email series like Mozy Money Minute for your brand. The main thing you need to focus on here is quality of your email. So you have two kinds of people. You have people who are like focused on marketing tactics, clickbaiting people, and stuff like that, split testing subject lines, basically trying to just get someone to open the email. And those people are going to succeed, but for 2 or 3 times before someone unsubscribes. And then you have the other kinds of people. They're like, they don't really focus on the subject line because they just focus on having great content inside of their emails. And the reason that's so good is because, yeah, sure, you might get lower open rates on your first couple of emails, but once people actually start seeing that your emails are valuable, they're just going to open them regardless of your subject line, right? It's like we're trying to maintain our relationship here with our customers, because if you try just clickbait people, it's going to work, as I said a couple of times, but at some point, people are just going to unsubscribe. They're not dumb, right? They will fall for it maybe once, twice, 3 times, but after some time, people are going to get sick of it. But if you're sending great content, then whatever you write in your subject line, when people see your sender name in their inbox, they're just going to open it. So instead of focusing on some subject lines, marketing tactics, copywriting, clickbaiting people and stuff like that, just focus on having great emails, and like open rates and engagement is just going to come naturally.
Okay. So PS, I always have a PS statement in every email because beyond the headline, it's the most read part of the email. So not having a PS statement is PS stupid. So have one. The thing is that I think about this as, again, what have they just done? So they have now read my email. So I want to reward them for reading my email, and I want to encourage people to click, because one of the things I think a lot of people try not to do is try to get people not to click or send too many links. So sending too many links is a bad thing. So that's true. In terms of getting someone to click, you want to regularly get people to click because you want your audience to be rewarded for clicking in general. And so if you have a blog that you send out, don't put the blog in the email. Put a really interesting nugget from the blog in the email and then click there so that they can read it. And so you're training the audience and rewarding them. Ideally, if the blog is good, they will do it again. Just like Mozy Money Minute, if your blog is good, it'll increase the likelihood they do it again. If your blog
Exactly. So first of all, PS statements, obviously this is not going to apply to you for your designed emails, but for your plain text emails that you're hopefully sending somewhat regularly, you need to have a PS statement in every single email. Now, the best thing you can do is like put a CTA in the email, but you can also just summarize the email in one sentence in a PS statement. But in most cases, you'll want to have a CTA because people read it, so you're just increasing the likelihood that people are actually going to see your CTA, click it, and buy something from you. It's just the numbers game, right? Also, another thing that he said is just sending too many links is bad. It's true. It's absolutely true. You want to stay away from sending too many links. But if it's like all on your website and it's like your domain slash this product, your domain slash this collection, it's not going to be too big of a deal, to be honest. So don't worry about that too much if you're doing everything else right when it comes to deliverability, especially sending to engaged segments, i.e. people who actually want to read your emails. You'll be fine. Don't worry about that.
Just like Mozy Money Minute, if your blog is good, it'll increase the likelihood they do it again. If your blog is bad or emails are bad, it'll decrease it. And so this is why I see this very much as content, because it has to be good. And think about the alternative scenario. If you have 4 good emails and then 1 terrible one, it can just like that one was just so useless that they're like, I'm not going to do this again. I would rather just extend a period of time where I haven't talked to somebody and just make sure that what I send them is good. And long term, if people don't open your emails, then you'll eventually end up in the promo tab, which is kind of like email death. Like no one ever really checks that, even if you have good stuff. And so you want to obviously get people to read your emails quickly.
Exactly. So basically what he's saying, email is content just like content on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram, whatever. People are still treating it as content because if it's bad, they'll stop engaging with it, right? That's exactly why you need to make sure your emails are good instead of focusing on your copywriting, subject lines, clickbaiting people. Focus on making great emails because that way people will keep engaging with your emails and you won't end up in a promo tab or even worse, spam. Why is that so bad? Well, obviously people won't be able to find your emails and then they won't be able to buy, right? But if you, as I said, focus on sending your emails to people who actually want to receive them, to your engaged segments, people will keep engaging with your emails and you won't end up in promo or spam. So you'll be fine. Also, if you focus on growing your list, you have a new chance for those new subscribers to get in their inboxes, right? So you'll be fine. That needs to be your focus. You're growing your list and sending to your engaged segments, and your deliverability is going to be absolutely fine.
Now let's talk about a different tactic. So mobile optimized design. So right now, 60% of global internet traffic is mobile devices. And what's crazy is that a lot of people's emails are not optimized for mobile viewership. And that's where a lot of people are actually going to be reading your thing. And so you want to make sure that you look at your emails on a desktop format and on a mobile format so that they display the right way for the viewing platform they're being viewed through.
Absolutely. So first of all, you don't have an excuse to not do this, right? Because inside of Klaviyo, inside of every single email platform, you have a built-in option to literally see what your email is going to look like on desktop and mobile. So you literally don't have an excuse not to do this. Also for eComm brands, since we're using images in most of our emails, the main way you're going to optimize for mobile actually is by making everything slightly bigger while you're designing it inside of Figma or Canva or whatever you're using. Just make your buttons slightly bigger, make your copy slightly bigger, because even if it looks like it's too big while you're designing it on your computer, it's going to be fine once you're on mobile because everything is smaller, right? So you need to make it easy for people to actually read your copy, to click your button, because if it's too small, it's going to be too difficult to click it, right?
Do that. All you do is, first objective of email, increase the likelihood they convert. And this is especially true if you had images to your emails. This is more like e-commerce does a lot of this. That's where like images can get totally messed up, not look good. It just looks unprofessional and totally plummets the click-through rates for your emails.
Yeah, absolutely. So every single email you send, just send it to yourself, to your inbox. You have a preview option inside of Klaviyo that's going to send it to your inbox. You can view it inside of on your phone, on your computer. If it looks good, you can send it. If not, you need to make some changes, my friend.
4, consistent layout/format. I tend to love templates. I love to just figure out what works and then do it over and over and over again. So in the beginning, you might experiment a little bit, but if you see that a certain format gets more responses or more click-throughs, then it's like, cool, let's just do that over and over again. And so you'll notice that the Hormozi Monday Minutes more or less have the same format. They have the thing, they have the content, they have the CTA, and then they have some sort of PS statements, or the CTA is the PS statement. But that's included in every single one of them. I want people to know what they're going to get. Think about McDonald's. It's like, I don't want any surprises. I'm expecting a Big Mac. I want fries. I want my Coke. And so today's Big Mac, fries, and Coke is different than yesterday's, but I don't want it to be different. It's not the same burger, but I want it to still be just as good.
Yeah, so I don't really completely agree with this thing here, what he said right now. Now, I understand completely what he's saying, and it's completely applicable to his situation, the kind of emails he is sending, like B2B email, like business tactics, stuff like that. That's fine. But for e-com specifically, this is not really good advice. Now, why is this not really good advice? Basically, people are going to get bored if your emails are all the same every single time. Now, I'm not saying that you should completely change up every single email and that your brand colors are like red and white, you send a green and yellow email the next time. I'm not saying that. Keep the design, the vibe similar in every single email, but you need to change up. You need some fancy looking designs every single time. You need some new angles, some new ideas, some new ways of promoting your stuff, right? Like a new way to showcase a testimonial, a new way to showcase a product launch, a new way to show people how to use the product, a new way to do a design, something flashy, something new, something like a GIF or stuff like that, right? Because if it's every single time, if they know what they're going to get, it's going to get boring. And the worst thing you can do is bore people, because at that point, they're going to just unsubscribe and you lost them, right? They're not going to buy from you. Like as David Ogilvy said, like you can't bore people into purchase. You have to make them entertained and they're going to buy from you. So you actually have to turn it into somewhat of a game. Like when people see your name in their inbox, they have to be like, oh my God, what is going to be this time? And they open your email and they find something completely new that they haven't seen before. This is how you play email marketing at the highest levels.
Next tactical nugget. So optimize preview text. So this is one that I actually learned more recently for our stuff. So maybe embarrassing, whatever. Optimizing preview text for the email. So when you look at all of your emails, you see the bold subject, and then after that, you've got like that little bit of text afterwards. That little bit of text is kind of like when you hover on a YouTube video and it shows you a couple clips. It's preview, right? And so that preview has a big impact on how many people choose to open the email. And so right now it has for us had an increase of 24%. And just to give you an idea here, 24% of people, so 1 out of 4 people check that text before they even open. And so that's what they reported. I would bet it's even higher than that. It takes 10 seconds to do this and is so worth it, because if you don't, then it'll just take the first 150 characters of your email, which might have just been like, hey, John, blah, blah, blah. Like it's not valuable, right? And so we want to pull the most valuable nuggets forward, especially things that induce curiosity. Next tech.
Exactly. So here you have a slight advantage. So as I said, if you don't optimize this, it's just going to pull the first 150 characters from your email. This is true for plain text emails, right? But since you're in eComm and you're sending most of your emails are, I hope, designed emails that are like with images, inside of Klaviyo, you're just going to have an option to type your preview text, so you can actually optimize this every single time. And I hope you're doing it. So the way you do it is just like you add something on top of your subject line. You build curiosity on top of your subject line. So your subject line induces some curiosity, makes people want to click, and then your preview text actually is an addition. It's a complement to your subject line. So that's how you do it. As I said, with subject lines, the same goes for preview text. Don't focus too much on it. Obviously, don't make like shit subject lines, but don't focus too much on it. Main focus should be on creating great emails, but still do it because it won't take too much time.
So nugget, clear CTA. So I'm not going to harp on like, of course, you want to have a reason to do it, and you have a reason to do it now and tell them exactly what they get. Those are, CTA 101. But I think that having basically a continued interest CTA and then have I want to take action and buy CTA are not terrible ideas to have in an email. And so I'm not saying like, I'm not one of these people who's like, only have one link, only have one CTA. I think you can have more than one, but it's more that you only want to have one per audience or per objective. Now, if you have 5, then that can get, kind of aggressive overall, but I think 1 or 2, you're safe as long as there's a clear reason that someone would click one versus the other. All right, let's rock another.
Now, what he said right here for CTAs is true for his kinds of emails. It doesn't have to be exactly like that in traditional eComm emails, like design emails, right? You can have multiple products with every single product having its own CTA, having its own link, right? And that's exactly how it should be. But absolutely, you need to have a CTA in every single email. Even if there are no products in your email, it's more like how to do something, like a tutorial email. That's great. That's a great email, but you need to have a CTA. Especially, you need to have a CTA above the fold, which means that when I open an email on my phone, I need to be able to see a button right without scrolling, so I can just click it and buy. Because some people are just not there to read an email. They're just there, they got reminded of you, and they're like, oh yeah, that brand, I want to buy something from them. They open your email, boom, immediately they see the button, click it, and buy something from you. So just don't make it hard for people to actually buy from you. That's the main thing that you need to focus on. Like, make it easy for people to buy from you. Some people just make it really hard to buy from them. I open their email and just can't find any CTA, so I need to go to Google or like whatever browser you're using and type their store name and find them on Google, and then go and click on their website and then dig on their website to find the product that I want to buy. Like, it's so difficult. Make it easy for your customers to buy. Like, that's the whole point of your business.
How often should you send email, and to whom should you send it? Big picture, after talking to the best email marketers I knew before deciding to start my newsletter, number one is the perfect cadence seems to be around 3 times a week. All right. Now, again, I don't like rules. And if you hate rules as much as I do, then nothing is a rule. All right. You could send 2, you could send 1, whatever. But most people found that basically the more often you email, the more you will convert. It's kind of like more content, but there is a spot where people are like, I'm getting bothered. But the thing is that's where I feel like putting more effort into making the emails high quality pays dividends. Because think about it like this. If you send someone stuff that always makes them money, then how much would they like you to send them? Tons. And so that's why I'm a big fan of, like, I don't really have promotional emails per se. I'd rather just have every email be valuable and then just say like, hey, if you found this valuable, you can go here. And that way.
Yeah, this is a really good take. Basically, first of all, how often should you send your emails? 3 to 4 times a week for e-com brands. Now, if you're like really small, like below 50K a month, okay, that's not really small, but you get what I'm saying. You could get away with sending 2 to 3 emails a week, but for an average e-com brand doing like over 50K a month, 3 to 4 emails a week is going to be a sweet spot. Then when you get way bigger, then you can start sending even more. But at that point, you're probably making way more segments and stuff like that, based on like people who purchase, based on people who are need to purchase, because at that point your segments are actually big enough for that to matter, right? But for most of you guys, just send 3 to 4 emails a week, which means every other day you're sending an email to your list, make sure they're good, and you'll be fine. Now, another thing he said is like, you need to focus exactly on sending 3 to 4 emails every single week. That is the ideal situation, but if you can't make it good enough, just don't send it that way, because if you send it and it's not good, you're risking way more than you're gaining.
We want our emails to approximate that as closely as possible, because the equal opposite of that is that it looks like the Vegas Strip inside of the email, right? That looks like 100% promotion, which then the algorithm, AI is pretty smart nowadays. They're like, oh, this is just promotion. And so they can put it into the promo tab. And so you want it to just look like an email. And so you want it to be as much text as possible. For us, we don't send images. And if you do have the link, you've got 1, maybe 2 links in there max. And we've also noticed that if we put more money stuff in an email, it tends to get a higher percentage in the promo tab. And so I try to remove money language from the text itself.
Yeah, so for you, this is going to be a little bit more difficult, because as an e-com brand, you rely on visual stuff, you rely on images, you rely on a lot of links because you're promoting a couple of products in your email. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult than in his scenario, but you have to do what you have to do, right? So what you can do here is just avoid, first of all, have a lot of alt text. So email providers actually register that as text, and make sure there is no spam words in your alt text. So that's going to be fine, because AI is going to detect the alt text, and it's going to be like, okay, this is just a blog, right? But obviously they're going to detect images as well. But the way to get around that is just, you can't get around that per se, right? But the way to get around that in terms of it not harming your deliverability is just sending to the people who actually open your emails, as we already talked about. Like the 80-20, or like more like 90-10 of your deliverability is just sending to the people who actually want to receive your emails, because they engage with your emails in the past, they're going to keep engaging with your emails in the future. And that is going to signal to your email service providers that people actually want to receive your emails, which means that they need to go to inbox, right? So that's the only thing you need to focus on when it comes to deliverability. There are some minor things that you can do as well, but this is going to be the highest leverage task you can focus on.
Next nugget is A/B testing subject lines. So I told you that I'm trying to build the brand of Mosey Money Minute. And so I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of short-term open rate so that long-term, the audience that becomes hardcore about Mosey Money Minute will just always open the Mosey Money Minute. But even so, the things after Mosey Money Minute will still have an influence on that. And so having an A/B split test for your headline or your subject will test for a small percentage, an A/B, and then once it has the winner, we'll then send the rest of the list, the winning combination. And this, more and more platforms are getting intelligent about this, like YouTube does the same thing for thumbnails and headlines.
Exactly. So basically, testing subject lines, you have a small percentage of the audience you're sending to, they get the test, and then the winning variation gets sent to the rest of the list. Obviously, this is a native feature in your email service providers, in Klaviyo, in Omnisend, stuff like that, so you don't have to worry about this too much. It's super easy to set up. You just click Create A/B Test, you type the subject line 1, type the subject line 2, start the test. It's going to be super easy for both your campaigns and flows. Super easy to set up. This is a really important test for flows as well, because that's something that where the subject line is the same, right? For campaigns, you can test stuff like that is more broad, more like rules, like emojis or no emojis, all caps or all lowercase, obviously not all cap, but or lowercase, or like caps, capital letters, and stuff like that. But for flows, you can test specific subject lines, and that is going to be very important. The problem is with flows, you don't have very much traffic coming in. It takes time to get enough people to go through the flows so it achieves statistical significance, but it's going to be worth it for some flows, such as welcome flow, abandoned cart, abandoned checkout, right?
And so I like to have little bonuses that are platform specific that give people reasons to also be subscribed there. And so it's like, if I could do something like that on YouTube, I would, but I have to do it through a link. So at least on email, I can make something that gives people a reason to sign up beyond just immediately getting tactics that will always make them more money. This one breaks the mold, but I want to walk through why I think this email is important. And so first thing,
Obviously. So what Alex is saying here, if you do not understand, basically he's just saying you need to have a strong offer, strong reason for people to actually give you their email. In your case, for many e-com brands, it's just going to be 10% off, 15% off, 20% off, whatever. It's just going to be a discount. In most cases, free shipping can work. A free widget can work as well, like buy this and get this free. That can work. But in most cases, it's just going to be a discount, either 15% off or $15 off or stuff like that. But you just need a strong reason for people to give you their email because they're not going to sign up for no reason.
and then on top of that, you want them to engage with the email. So there's a couple things here. So when you reply to an email, then remember I said earlier about the promo tab? Well, when someone replies to an email, then you kind of like get reinforced in terms of the algorithm that serves like, oh, this is something that they're engaged with. And so you want people to engage. And so for us, once you reply yes, then we send you the chapter. So that gives them a reason to do it. And so you can
Exactly. So this is a really good tactic that not a lot of people actually talk about. Now for eComm, it's a little bit more to apply because of images. But what you can do and what we have done for our clients is like you can run polls or surveys or like giveaways with plain text emails from founder telling, hey, like you can win this product or this discount. Like we're picking 10 winners to reply to this email. And then you're going to get a lot of people to reply because it's just such a low barrier to entry giveaway. And it's just going to massively boost your deliverability because you received a lot of replies, right? So that is a really good decision, a really good idea you can apply to your business, and it's going to massively boost your deliverability. And it's just not going to cost you that much. Like you just run like a giveaway for $50 products. It's just going to cost you less because your cost of production is way less. It's going to be perceived as way more valuable to your customers, and it's going to boost your deliverability, which is going to make you even more money long term because more people are going to see your email. So don't be cheap about this. Run a giveaway, and it's going to pay off. Trust me.
I'm going to give you 3 timing tactics around emails. These are all just golden babies, things that just give you tiny little lifts in terms of your overall performance. And so if you're sending, let's say, 1 email a week, then you might as well maximize the likelihood and effectiveness of that email. And so if you're B2C, it seems like Mondays and Tuesdays tend to be better days overall. And so there's an average increase in open rate of about 18% for B2C, so business consumer. Now, if you're B2B, this is kind of interesting. It's Wednesday. That's actually the bigger lift day. And actually is about comparable to the...
Right. So basically, yeah, it makes sense. If you're sending only 1 email a week, you're going to try to optimize it as much as you can. But I just say send 3 to 4 emails a week. It's not going to be that difficult to achieve, and it's going to give you a way higher return because it's not even like you're going to get 3 times as much money from your emails. It's like it compounds because people are more used to seeing you. They trust you more because of the familiarity bias. They like you more. They know you better, right? And they're just more familiar with your brand and your product. And then, for example, you're selling activewear. When they think of activewear, they're just going to think of you because they see you in their inbox constantly. So yeah, sure, if you're just sending 1 email a week, send it on Monday or Tuesday. But if you're sending multiple emails a week, as you should be, send it every other day. You'll be fine because you'll be sure to hit Monday or Tuesday if you're sending every other day.
B2C lift. So I see that as like, there's just a time period for more people that consumers are more distracted, call it, on Mondays and Tuesdays, whereas business people, B2B, are like working Mondays and Tuesdays. Like they get to catch their breath on Wednesday. Now, I could just be adding a narrative to this, who knows? But fundamentally, the stats are there, and this is across zillions of emails. I got that from Neil Patel. He's an awesome marketer. And so he shared that with me in terms of days. The last tactic is around what time of day. So that was days of week. The next is time of day. And so it seems like there's 2 sweet spots that occur. And one is basically right before lunch and right after lunch. So it's like 10 to noon and then 1 to 3 are the kind of like these sweet spots where they open. The first thing in the morning, I think, is typically a very competitive time because there's so many actual real business emails that they're going through that they're like, well, I got to deal with this stuff first. If you kind of slide in those times, you tend to see bigger improvements. Now, that'll be more specific for businesses that are local. When you're across time zones, I wouldn't lose too much sleep over it.
Yeah. So first of all, you have an option inside of Klaviyo to send in someone's local time zone, so you don't have to worry about what Alex just said. But yeah, these times might seem to be working, but the problem is the fact that every single audience for every single brand is different. So you can't really have the exact time that you should be sending. Now, the best way to solve this problem actually is to use Klaviyo's feature called Smart Sending, which is going to is going to send across all hours of the day, and is going to test the best hour for you to be sending your emails based on like open rates, click rates, engagement, obviously. But the problem with this is for you to test this, for you to use this feature, you need to have a list of 12,000 people. You need to be sending to at least 12,000 people for it to actually be available to you. So if you don't have, now, what I mean by a list of 12,000 people, that means a list of engaged segment of 12,000 people, because as we already talked about, you're now, from now on, sending only to your engaged segments until you improve your deliverability, and you're allowed to send your sales to a broader segment or your entire list. So that means that you need to build up at least a 90-day engaged segment to 12,000 people for you to be able to use a smart sending feature inside of Klaviyo. But once you have that, or if you already have it, use this feature, send a couple of emails with it, and you're going to find out the best time for your exact brand to send emails. So If you're an ecom brand and doing 50K a month or more in revenue, I'd be honored to personally take a look at your Klaviyo account and tell you what you're doing good, what you're doing bad, and how you can improve on it, give you a personalized roadmap for your ecom brand, and all of this completely for free. So you can find the link to my calendar, second link in the description. You can book a call with me and I'll perform a full Klaviyo account audit completely for free. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Though